So is Spygate mastermind Connor Stalions still working for Michigan football? He was certainly involved in flipping five-star quarterback Bryce Underwood. So let's explore this. Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer. And I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hit that free subscribe button down below, then you'll never miss a single episode. Today's episode, by the way, brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Connor Stalions, still with Michigan? Back with Michigan? What is it? Well, a major update on Michigan's spring game, by the way, at the end. Penn State gets a wide receiver, and Michigan State basketball, they're elite. They're not final. They're elite. We'll have our top 10 Big Ten observations from the weekend. So, is Spygate mastermind Connor Stalions still working for Michigan? He's certainly recruiting for them, and he still wants to be their head coach someday, according to a brand new conversation he just had with On3 I want to tell you about. Stalions was behind the entire in-person scouting scandal during Jim Harbaugh's reign for the Wolverines, right up to the midway point of the 2023 season when it all blew apart. And Michigan, of course, did go on to finish the season undefeated, won the Big Ten, and won the national championship. Stallions, though, in the middle of the season, disappeared. And Harbaugh was suspended 3 games. And Michigan is still waiting for the final ruling of punishment on the matter from the NCAA. We talked about that last week, by the way. Harbaugh is now gone, head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers of the NFL, and Stallions started bouncing around with some high school coaching gigs in the state of Michigan. First, he was an unpaid defensive coordinator at Detroit's Mumford High School. Before that season was over, he was the interim head coach. This is all in the fall of 2024. But then when Mumford's regular season was over, he ended up over at Bellevue High School, where Bryce Underwood was the number 1 quarterback recruit in the country. And at the time, he was committed to LSU. Now, none of this is news. We all know this. But Stalions talked about it recently in this recent interview we're talking about. And he said he was asked by people he knew to just leave the team he was at and just come help out Bellevue during the playoffs, just as they were starting. Okay, that doesn't happen very often. Maybe it did here in this case. That seems to be the case. Kind of weird and coincidental as far as a path goes for coaching, with one team for the regular season, with another one for the postseason. I don't know. Strange timing. What do you think? Nothing illegal about it. Just strange. Doesn't happen every day. Stallion said from that point on, just as the playoffs were starting at Bellevue with Underwood, he and Underwood started using Michigan's pre-snap verbiage for their formations. Wait, what? Yeah. That would be a major adjustment for any team, let alone a team of 17 and 18-year-olds at the end of a season heading into the playoffs. Usually don't make changes like that on the fly. So all of a sudden, Underwood's using Michigan's play calls for their formations. Okay, that's a little weird. He was still committed to LSU at this point. Michigan was on speed dial trying to get him. So Stallions arrived at Bryce Underwood's school, and all of a sudden, a few weeks later, he flips. He flips from LSU to Michigan. And this is after Underwood had said publicly and strongly, no, he's committed to LSU. He thinks that they can develop him better as a quarterback. And all of a sudden, boom, he says, I'm going to go to Michigan. $12 million of name, image, and likeness. That helped, all that. Stalions said that when he and Underwood met each other, he said they were both starstruck. Underwood said he had just finished watching the famous Netflix feature on Stallions, and Stalions was a little starstruck with Underwood after he had heard about him and all of his great talent all this time. So he also said, Stalions said that he and Underwood, they talked a lot of ball. He did admit, he made it clear where he would prefer that Underwood played collegiately, Michigan, of course, but 99% of the time they just talked football, and they really hit it off, just talking football, apparently. So even after all that Stallions had done and gone through, this guy still loves Michigan football. There's no question about it. Still wants to be the head coach there someday. Still dreams of being the head coach of the Wolverines. Remember, writing that manifesto, that was his goal from Spygate on, to work his way up and be the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines. He said he'll wait it out as long as it takes. He said that he'd even take a job as an assistant with another Big Ten school to work his way up, just as long as it's not at Ohio State or Michigan State, he said. And while he claims that back in the fall, again, he and Underwood only would talk football 99% of the time, it seems Stallions is a great recruiter and pitchman for Michigan still. Because even though Underwood, again, said that he was locked in LSU, flipped at the last minute to Michigan. By the way, Underwood continues to look really good at spring practice from everything we hear. And each day he continues to look the part of someone who's going to be the day one starter, even as a true freshman, much like Dylan Raiola was last year at Nebraska. Also, you look at the other quarterbacks in the quarterback room for Michigan. Fresno State transfer quarterback Mikey Keene. He's yet to participate. All right, he's been nicked up. Nobody knows when he's going to be available. Davis Warren is recovering from an ACL, and the only other quarterback taking snaps is Jaden Davis. So that means more snaps for Underwood, and even the defensive players are taking notice how good this kid is, and he can throw the ball. Some are even whispering the name J.J. McCarthy. Yes, he has J.J. McCarthy-like ability, according to those in the know in the Michigan program. Pretty high praise, right? In addition to his big arm and a strong frame, he's garnered a lot of attention here in the spring. Apparently, people are a little bit surprised at how elusive he is. He's got a little bit of ability to run as well, despite his size. Now, I do have some news for you right now for the spring game, Michigan fans. The Michigan spring game, as we know, is April 19th in the Big House. But Sherrone Moore will not let the Big Ten Network air it live. All right, this is some tweaking with what's going on with all these coaches and their philosophies with the spring game. It will not air until after the transfer portal closes. So they're going to air 8 days later to prevent scouting and tampering and poaching by other teams. The coaches, including Sherrone Moore, kind of scoffed earlier at Matt Rule in Nebraska for canceling because he was afraid of getting poached. And people said, like, you're going to get poached anyway. Let's have the spring game. Well, now here's a development. Michigan's not going to allow the spring game to air until after the spring portal closes. So maybe Matt Rule was onto something. Maybe Matt Rule should have thought of this. Hey, you can air a game. It's going to be after the portal. That seems like a good idea. Maybe they'll change their mind. Probably a little late to do so. Not sure about that. So the game is going to air April 27th. The spring portal closes April 25th. So I thought some interesting news to share with you there. Hey, if you're new to us, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below for free. Just takes a second. That way you'll never miss another episode. And don't forget, you early morning commuters, I got something special for you. We have an audio-only version of this podcast. For those watching on video and don't know, we're audio. We also do an audio-only on Apple and Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. It comes out 2 hours earlier than the video one. So if you want to jump start on your day, crack of the morning before the sun comes up, you're driving into work, audio version of Locked On Big Ten. You can check that out as well. Don't forget, we have a website, talkbig10.com. We have all of our podcasts there. And also you can link up to buy merchandise for your favorite team, Michigan shirts, hats, t-shirts, all right there at talkbig10.com. So you can check that out. We got the scroll on the video. talkbig10.com. It's also where our Twitter or X handle is at talkbig10 as well. All right, lots to get to here. It was a big, big weekend around the Big Ten. Michigan State, they were elite. They weren't good enough to get to the Final Four. Good season, though. We'll talk about that. Oh, more football news. Penn State gets a wide receiver. That should be breaking news because they hardly ever get wide receivers. And we'll have our top 10 Big Ten observations from the weekend. All that coming up right here on Locked On Big Ten. So March Madness, we're going through it. We're down to the Final Four. FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. So right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters, Cinderella stars. Well, we really don't have Cinderellas this year. Just we got 4 number ones is what we've got. But that's cool. We went chalk. No problem there. Stay in on the action with all these tournament games. And the FanDuel app is very easy to use. And when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all season long while you can. Again, that's FanDuel.com, FanDuel.com. Well, thank you, everybody, for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen every day, especially you everydayers out there. Meanwhile, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And check out our website with all our podcasts and your team merchandise at TalkBig10.com. One other football note I want to get to you before we talk about the hoops. All right, Penn State got a class of 2027 wide receiver, and he's pretty good. Khalil Taylor. He's 5'11", 180, little speedster wide receiver out of Seton LaSalle High School in Pittsburgh. He is the number 2 wide receiver, number 2 player in the state, and he is verbally committed to Penn State. That gives the Nittany Lions the 3 4-star commitments now for the class of 2027 and directly addresses one of the most troublesome spots that James Franklin seems to have trouble filling, a wide receiver. Not one wide receiver caught a pass in the Nittany Lions playoff loss to Notre Dame. Continues to be a problem. So it's early, but this commit gives Penn State the top recruiting class in the country. Class of 2027 over Ohio State and Alabama. Again, still early. By the way, Penn State's class of 2025, did you know it barely cracked the top 20? Yeah. But then in the classes after that, 26, that's ranked 8th. Class of 2027, rank 1. That's what a playoff appearance does for you. So we'll keep an eye on that situation for you here with Penn State. Now, on to basketball. Michigan State, men's basketball team. They were the Big Ten's last chance to get to the Final Four in San Antonio. Took a tough Auburn team on Sunday night. And there was a spell in the first half that decided the entire ball game. There was that 17-0 run that Auburn went on. They were up by 15 points. Michigan State missed 10 straight shots. They got good looks. I haven't seen anything like that in a while. Just nothing went down. 10 straight, and that was after starting 3 of 6. The Michigan State scoring drought was 6 minutes. That was the ball game right there. That was the ball game. During that run, it ended up being 23-8 over like a 10-minute period, and Frankie Fiddler finally hit a free throw and ended that streak. Fiddler then had a 3-pointer, got Michigan State within 10 with 9 minutes to go, and Jace Richardson had a layup to cap off a Michigan State 7-0 run after the 17-0 run that they fell behind. They got it at that point within 8. But Michigan State bigs just kept short-arming short shots. There was 3:17 to go in the half out of a timeout. Jackson Kohler hit a 3-pointer right before the shot clock. That got him within 5. 27-22. That was really the last time Michigan State had some really, really good momentum in this game. But then another bucket. Auburn was up by 9 at the half, 33-24. So 9-point spread was a 6-point game. That was it. That stretch just killed Michigan State. In the first half, Michigan State was 3 of 13 from 3 land, but so was Auburn. A lot of bricks up there. Trey Holloman was 0 for 7. Jay Nakins was 1 for 7. This is all in the first half. Jace Richardson admitted it, coming out of the locker room. It seems like his team was scared against Auburn and a little bit bothered by the crowd, which was very pro-Auburn. Although Tom Izzo will tell you, look, we play the Big Ten. These crowds, we get used to this stuff. Didn't look like it here. Now, interesting story from Auburn. John I. Broom. He had a double-double going, 17 points, 11 rebounds at the half. And then he got hurt later on and hit multiple injuries, ankle and a hyperextended elbow. Michigan State was down by 10 at this point. And I thought maybe this was midway through the second half. I thought maybe they can make this run. But with 5:29 to go, Broome returned out of the locker room and came in the ball game, kind of like Willis Reed back in the day, and inspired everybody, and then dropped a three-pointer. Boom. So it just kind of stayed like a 10-point game from that point. Final score, though, Michigan State got it within 6, 70-64. That's the final. Michigan State on the night, 34% from the field. Hey, I want to say this about Michigan State. Good season. Regular season. Nobody seems to do this. I put more weight on the regular season than the Big Ten tournament, which Michigan won. I like the long body of work, the long grind of the regular season. Michigan State was the best team in the Big Ten all season long. And I told you here on this podcast, on our preview going into March Madness, I thought the Big Ten was really, really good. They weren't great. They weren't elite. Well, it turns out they got to the Elite Eight with Michigan State, but that's it. And I didn't think we'd get a Final Four team. And then on top of that, well, we went chalk. All 4 number ones go to the Final Four for the second time ever. Happened back in 2008. So we've got Auburn taking on Florida early Saturday night. Houston will take on Duke in the late game on Saturday. But congratulations to Tom Izzo and Michigan State for a fine season. Really was. 3 other Big Ten teams runs ended in the Sweet 16. Maryland fell to number 1 seed Florida, 87-71 on Thursday. Derek Queen led the Crab 5 with 27 points. But again, depth continued to be the problem for Maryland. And it was the Achilles heel. They only got 3 points off the bench here again in this game. And starter Jacoby Gillespie had some foul trouble. That was too much. The no depth. Nothing. When they get starters out, they can't score. And then there was the whole Kevin Willard thing. He's upset at Maryland and said he wasn't going to re-sign his new contract. And boom, a couple days later, he's the Villanova head basketball coach. The athletic director had left, Damon Evans. So Maryland's got some problems. Their name, image, and likeness is not up to snuff with everybody else. And they got some work to do with basketball over there in Maryland, even though they made a nice run here this year. They had Willard had 3 seasons there at College Park, had a 65-39 record. Not bad. Made the NCAA tournament twice. We'll see what he does at Villanova, and we'll see who Maryland hires next. Meanwhile, coaching situation in Michigan was a little more rosier this year with Dusty May. And even though their amazing turnaround ended on Friday in the Sweet 16 with a 78-65 loss to top seed Auburn. Auburn got both Michigan and Michigan State. The Wolverines won 27 games this year and the Big Ten tournament title after winning just 8 games under Juwan Howard last year. So hats off to them. It was a good season. And Matt Painter's Purdue Boilermakers, their season halted in the Sweet 16 on Friday night in Indianapolis. They lost to Houston 62-60 in a tough one. Inbound play under the basket. Forgot to cover the guy making the pass. He got the ball back. Easy layup. They win. Boilermakers finish a respectable 24-12. The women's Elite Eight continuing tonight. All right, we got Monday night. USC taking on perennial power Connecticut. Trip to the Final Four on the line, 9 p.m. Eastern on ESPN, 6 o'clock Pacific. USC will continue to play without injured superstar Juju Watkins, while the Huskies play with Player of the Year candidate Paige Buchers, who announced she will go to the WNBA after the season, and she will be the consensus number 1 overall pick. On Sunday, of course, congratulations to UCLA Bruins. They beat LSU 72-65, and they will go to the program's first ever Final Four. UCLA making 10 3-pointers on Sunday. So congratulations to them. A lot of great stuff going on. A lot of these things I'm going to mention coming up. They make the list of our top 10 Big Ten observations. That is something we like to do each and every Monday. It's awesome. So check that out. That's coming up next right here on Locked On Big Ten.
The NCAA Tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA Tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
All right, back on Locked On Big Ten. We got our top 10 Big Ten observations From the weekend, we'll go through this list. It's a loose ranking. The important thing is, did you make the 10? Okay? So we'll put it here on full screen. If you're audio only, we'll describe it in detail. I want to start off with Purdue's Braden Smith. 15 assists for the Boilermakers in their Sweet 16 loss to Houston. Braden Smith can do a little bit of everything. He can score, he can rebound, he can get you assists. 15, that's a big number. That was a good job by him. We wanted to mention it here, even though the Boilermakers season has come. Well, everybody's season's come to an end here in the Big Ten at this point. Now, Michigan's Danny Wolf had 20 points and 6 rebounds. And their Sweet 16 loss to Auburn on Friday. But as I mentioned earlier, look, man, 27 wins for these guys, for the Wolverines this year. That was a pretty good season. No doubt about it. Considering where they were last year and the Twin Towers and all of that, that was a good season by the Michigan Wolverines. I want to mention Michigan State's Jace Richardson going back to the Ole Miss game on Friday that they won to make it to the Elite Eight. Jace Richardson with 20 points in that game. Michigan State, a lot of different weapons. Now, they all went cold on Sunday. A lot of them did. But all season long, guys like Jace Richardson you could rely on there in East Lansing. I want to mention Derek Queen, 27 points in that loss to Florida. And again, a 27-win season. This game was back on Thursday, so scratch your memory for a little bit. He was 10 for 10 at the free throw stripe. I was most impressed by that. I thought that was pretty good. Meanwhile, at number 6, a shout out to the USC women who beat Kansas State 67-61 to advance to the Elite Eight without Juju Watkins. That was an impressive start. And UCLA's Lauren Betts, I don't think it's enough credit. She had 31 points on 15 of 16 shooting in a win over Ole Miss on Friday to head to the Elite Eight. 15 of 16. That was very Bill Walton-esque if you're talking about big people there at UCLA from back in the day. And also just UCLA women in general to the Elite Eight, to the Final Four now. They got the win over LSU. And just very, very impressive. I'm kind of going to keep with this theme just a little bit. I want to mention Lauren Betts again in the game against LSU. 17 points, 7 rebounds, 6 blocks. And she frequently, like I said, she had a 31-point game the other night, 15 to 16 shooting. I don't think she gets enough credit because a lot of the attention goes to Pukers at UConn or Juju at USC, and Lauren Betts really makes this UCLA Bruin basketball team go. You'll get a chance to see her in the Final Four this upcoming weekend. So I wanted to mention her. And then finally, my last two kind of go hand in hand. Congratulations to Tom Izzo. I know he lost to Auburn. The season comes to an end in the Elite Eight. Lost to Bruce Pearl and the Auburn Tigers. But it was good season. 16 different Sweet 16s for Tom Izzo. Again, another mention for that. Because of that, again, I want to mention Michigan State, put it on my top 10 observations because, as I mentioned earlier, you got to give them a lot of credit. They won a Big Ten regular season championship. They were the best team in the Big Ten all season long, and we take our hat off to them. And I'm sad. I'm sad that Big Ten basketball is over now, but it is. And now we'll get through some spring football and some Big Ten baseball and all that stuff. So we're good. We still got stuff to do. But anyway, congratulations to all of them. And then, of course, the women's basketball will carry us on through their Final Four with UCLA and maybe USC if they can get by UConn tonight. That's a tall task, though. We'll keep an eye on that as well. So that's it. Did we get them right? Let us know. Did we leave something out? Let us know. There are many ways for you to interact with this podcast all the time. First of all, Twitter or X at Talk Big Ten, and also our website, talkbig10.com, number 10. Podcasts and merchandise, all right there. Be sure to subscribe for free so you never miss an episode. And don't forget, you early morning commuters, our audio-only podcasts on Apple and Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. They come out 2 hours earlier in the morning, 6 a.m. Eastern. Go ahead and grab them and check it out if you want some company in the car on your way to work. They come out 2 hours ahead of our YouTube video version. And you can always go back and check out a previous podcast because we list them all right there on our website, talkbig10.com. You missed something going into the weekend, go catch up. It's always good. We got our eye forward, moving forward. We'll still keep an eye on the hoops. Spring football, lots of stuff going on. Tell your friends about us that we're here every day under one umbrella, Big Ten, all 18 teams, news, opinion, analysis, one podcast. Locked On Big Ten right here. Also, I'm going to invite you to check out our friends, Isaac Shade and Andy Patton for Locked On College Basketball. This is crunch time for them. They're all in it, and they're great. Check them. You can find them on Locked On College Basketball on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. That'll do it for us here today. Thanks for checking us out. I can't wait till we meet again tomorrow. For Locked On Big Ten, I'm Craig Sheeman.